Welcome back to Surviving and Thriving, where we share with you the things that we have learned as we have transitioned our family from struggling to survive disease to thriving right smack dab in the midst of it, in the hopes that something that we share with you will help you, enlighten you, and encourage you as you transition your family from struggling to survive disease to thriving right smack dab in the midst of it. I've had times, you guys, where I've spent lots of years and lots of times in the hospital and in and out of medical facilities. And you guys, there were times when I was in some really bad states, some very bad places. And being in the hospital, going to different medical facilities, medical appointments, and seeing people dealing with similar things that I am overcoming and conquering, right? And sometimes I would be the one that everybody looked at and they felt bad for, right? That they felt sorry for. And I would see people who were way older than I am, very much my elders, and they would look at me, you know, like poor little girl, and I would have to look at them and see them in a more functional, a more viable state than I was in at that time. But I never really compared myself to them. I would always tell myself when I would see that, because I could see them looking at me, and you know, they're comparing, and you can hear some of the things that they're saying, and sometimes it would make them feel good about themselves to see me, a much younger person, in that state. And sometimes people in the same age range, you know, it makes them feel better. It would make them feel better to see me in a worse state than they were. And sometimes people are loose lips, and they have no concern for anyone else but themselves, than to make comments about it and let it be known that they feel good about it. But when I would look at people coming in and looking at me like that, especially when I was looking at people who were older, much older than I am, I never compared myself to them. I never looked at them and said, well, why do they get to be like this and I'm like that? Because I understood that was a dangerous place. Now, the temptation was there. I'm not going to lie, the temptation's there, right? But I would not allow myself to entertain that thought or to give in, not even just a little bit, to that temptation, because that is so dangerous. I understood that could take me somewhere I didn't want to go, and that when you're in a battle like that, and your life is on the line, and you're struggling with everything you have, and you're trying to hold it together the best that you can, trying to stay positive and make it through every day because you're in a really bad place, I didn't have the room to try to entertain that, because I was holding on for dear life, and anything could have tipped me over, right? And so I couldn't really look at that and compare other people to myself, or think that other people had it better than me. So what I would do when I would see people, especially older people than I was, that were, you know, more functional than I was, and had what seemed like an easier route or way to go, or were in better health than I was, you guys, I would look at them and I would have to be grateful for them, and I would say, thank you, Lord, that person's in that shape, that condition, that place in life. Help them to maintain it, help them to get better, help them to whatever. I would just really have to speak blessings over that person and be really grateful for that person and where they were. And then I would turn and look at me and say, this is where I'm at now. I've got to deal with where I'm at now, and knowing that I'm not going to be here that much longer, right? And that's what I would have to do for me. I have been very conscious. I guess, you know, when I first got married, I compared a lot. I compared myself to people a lot, and I always thought that I was, you know, below par or inadequate. And my husband would always talk to me about not comparing myself to other people. And I think I must have learned something over these last 20 years, because I'm comparing myself to people, right? Good or bad. That's such a dangerous, thing. And I've been on the side of comparing yourself and being full of pride because I thought I was better, and comparing myself and having really low self-esteem, being miserable, and thinking life sucked, and going backwards instead of forward because I compared myself and judged myself to be below standard, to be subpar, right? And so I think I might have learned that lesson really good, because I don't do that anymore, and I understand both sides. I understand, you know, what it is to compare and what that does to you, because whether you're getting pride or not getting pride, you guys, it's a bad thing, and it does bad things to you inwardly and for you in all kind of ways, and we're not going to go into that. But I also know what it's like to not compare yourself, and not comparing yourself, I have found, has been the most helpful thing for me. I just don't compare myself to other people. I just know that I am running my race. I am doing what's best for me. And when I focus in on me, you guys, that means all my energies are used to doing what I need to do to get to where I'm trying to go. If I'm comparing and looking at other people, then my energies are scattered, my focus is scattered, and I don't have as much power to get to where I'm trying to go. I'm trying to get somewhere, right? And so I don't really have time for all of that. Now, I'm talking to you because I have to go through different medical treatments and deal with a lot of doctors and deal with a lot of things on a regular basis. And I see some of the same people every time I, have to go deal with the things that I have to deal with. And when my husband and I, when we walk in the room, we go speak to everybody, we talk to everybody, it doesn't matter who you are, we're going to talk to you, right? And so that's a great thing. People look forward to seeing us, and we look forward to seeing people, and you build relationships, and you really learn how to care about people. The issue that I have with that is that when there's new people coming, or people transferring from other places, people who haven't seen you before, that are coming at a different time frame than you normally go, or when loved ones of people come in, I am often the topic that is most talked about, right? And I hear the conversations, and I'm always trying to block them out. In fact, I do a lot of things. I put on earbuds. I just do a lot of stuff to try to drown out other people's conversations after I say hello and do all that stuff until I do what I need to do, because I really don't want to hear the conversations, and I hear the comparing all the time. Why she this, and how come you that? How come she's the only one that can do this? And that gets really irritating for me. But what's the most, well, it doesn't really irritate me. I just don't want to really be bothered with it. And I understand that everybody needs to pay attention to themselves. But I do understand why loved ones ask the questions. Because, yeah, you want to know, how can I get, my loved one in a better place if my loved one isn't doing this? Most of the people where I go, you guys, they don't walk. I walk. They don't have energy. They don't have strength. I do. And so, I would want to know too, right? Why is my loved one going through this? But what really bothers me is the people who are going through stuff, you guys. They're always asking me, and it gets frustrating. And there's a new lady that I've been seeing a lot, and I'm having to constantly deal with her. And it's like, always wanting to know, ask questions about what you're going through, and wanting to pour out what they're going through. I don't ask anybody about what they're going through, but yet people always want to just pour out. One thing I think, when you meet somebody and you've just said hello, and then all of a sudden you got to blurt out everything you're going through and what's happening to you with your health, a lot of times what that tells me is that you have you're still trying to figure out how to deal with the emotions of what you're going through, how to handle the things that you're going through. Sometimes, you guys, there's some things I've gone through. I understand, right? You go through some stuff that your mind is like, people don't go through anything like this, and you want people to know, can you believe this happened? This is what I went through. You feel like somebody needs to know it. But when you're just meeting a person, you say hello, and then blah, I went through this, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, I really don't want to know all of that. And I find a lot of times that either people ask me a question so that they can have an opening to just tell what they're going through. So they'll ask me about something that if I'm dealing with, why I don't have this, why I'm not doing that. And I usually and generally try not to answer those questions or get involved in those conversations. But people just start talking, and you don't want to be rude, especially to your elders, right? But the other part of that is that it's none of your business what I'm going through. Just like it's none of my business what you're going through. And just because you had to have certain surgeries or had to have certain things happen, you know, a lot of times people get frustrated because when are you going to have it? Well, I'm not having it. Well, why not? Because I ain't. That's not for me. I don't need that. If that's the route you chose, if that's what's best for you, good. If your life warranted that you needed that, you know, that great. But don't feel like you got to put pressure on everybody else to go through what you're going through or deal with what you're dealing with. You know, I feel like a lot of that has to do with trying to compare yourself, and a lot of that is like that crabby spirit, right? That if you're going through something, everybody else have to go through it. Misery loves company, and we don't need to be those kind of people. When we're in these kind of situations, we need to be grateful for other people, because if you can't appreciate the blessing that somebody else has, you won't be able to get it yourself. If you can't rejoice over somebody else overcoming a hurdle, when it's your turn to come up to that hurdle, you're either going to have a really hard time crossing it, or you're not going to be able to cross it. Or you're going to want people to help you and applaud you when you come over it, or to encourage you as you get over that hurdle, and you ain't going to have it because you sowed the seed of ungratefulness, of... I hear my children. I think my husband's calling on the phone. They'll tell him I'm talking to you guys, right? But because when you sow those things, those are the things that you're going to reap. So we got to be really mindful to apply other people's stuff, but to run your race. Keep your eyes focused. Run your race and stay in your lane. When I used to run track, right, one of the things they used to always tell us is not to look, because whenever you look to see the people on the side of you, who's behind you, who's close to you, you're going to get out of your lane, right? And you're going to slow your speed down. So while you're going through health things, if you're looking around at everybody else, you're going to get out of your lane and you're going to slow your speed down. You're not going to progress like you need to progress. You're not going to be where you need to be. If you look at somebody that's doing better and you want to talk to them about something, what you need to talk to them about is what are they doing, so that you can know what you can do to get to where they are, right? Not in a begrudging way, not in a crabby, hating way where it's like, you know, you want them to suffer because you're suffering. You want them to go through because you're going through. And it makes you feel okay about what you're going through to see everybody going through the same thing that you're going through. And so then you start feeling bad about yourself in life when somebody else isn't going through it. No, you got to learn to rejoice with other people and be grateful for other people. And if you did some things, if you made some mistakes, if things have happened, I don't know what, but if you've gone through things and it's been a bad thing for you, there comes a place, you guys, where we all got to say, you know what? It is what it is. It happened, and you got to step on top of it and keep on going. You can't keep staying in that place, right, and begrudging other people because of something that happened to you. That's not a good thing. So let's all run our race. Let's stay in our lane. Let's focus on our goals, and let's not compare ourselves to other people. What somebody else is going through ain't none of your business. Ain't got nothing to do with you, right? And what you're going through, it ain't nobody else's business, right? Only thing we need to be sharing is encouragement, things that we've learned to help us to get over, right? But we don't need to be trying to put our hardships on other people and be mad at other people because they're not having those hardships, or be nosy and all up in other people's business about what they're going through. And if you're at a place where you find that you're spilling out all over the place, find the person that you can talk to. You need to talk. Sometimes you got to talk this stuff out. Sometimes you got to write a journal, because that's the best way that you can be able to get it out. And if you can't write and you ain't got nobody to talk to, get a teddy bear, get a chair, get a dog, get somebody where you can just get it out. Talk to God. But really what you got to do is come to grips with what's going on the inside of you. You got a lot of emotions going on, and you need to actually sit down and take time to deal with it, so that you're not spilling out all over the place. Hope something in there was helpful for you. Until next time, remember, in all things and at all time, do you. Till next week. Bye.